And right now we are joined by Hode Rubino. And Hode, for the folks at home who don't know you and what you do, can you explain how long you've covered the team, what you've seen from this program, and a little bit about what you do at Devil's Digest?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been the longest tenured beat writer for Arizona State football and basketball since 2000. And the publication, like you said, that I do run is Devil's Digest. And this definitely has been an interesting year, as you can imagine, Lina, going all the way back, even before training camp started, to the NCAA allegations and the investigation that ensued. And I think that really did put quite a heavy cloud over this program for really the duration of the entire year. Obviously, having not one, not two, but three assistant coaches on admin leave just before fall camp started, or just in some cases, just a couple of days into, really just sets a tone that's not conducive for success. You obviously had a massive preseason injury with defensive lineman Jermaine Lole. I think that definitely showed its signs throughout the year. So here's a team that I still thought, even with all this drama, was still going to be able to win 10 regular season games, not only win the South Division, but also win the conference outright. But obviously, things did not go as well as I expected, and probably many others too for that way. And I think there's only so much you can blame the NCAA investigation. I also feel that the offense, especially the passing game, which really was a blemish, if you will, in the 2020 season. And I know you can blame due to COVID, you didn't have a regular preseason, you didn't have a full schedule, obviously. It was really hard with a then first-year offensive coordinator, Zach Hill, to really get things going. But I think that in 2021, the expectations for that passing game were much higher. I said in the preseason, honestly, that the passing game was going to be the X factor. If this was going to be an offensive element that was going to show marked improvement in 2021, this team can achieve all the goals that I thought it could achieve. Since that didn't happen, I think that theory, unfortunately for ASU, did come true. And being mostly a one-dimensional offense, having some issues on defense, like I said, with an injury to Jermaine Lole, for example, I think did show all its signs in what I would say is a disappointing 8-4 regular season mark.
And we just heard from Herm Edwards. He had no plans of resigning, retiring, and we do know that he's going to be the coach moving forward. And people can say Twitter isn't reality, but there was a lot of chatter on Twitter since the BYU loss, and of course, more disappointing outings after that. I'll ask you, why is Herm Edwards still the coach of this program after we heard Ray Anderson say what his expectations were for any coach coming in, and he has not met those?
Sure. I think you're really just looking at two aspects over here. First of all, it's the NCAA investigation. If you're to make a head coaching change, no matter if it's Herm Edwards or wherever the head coach is that you do want to replace, how can you, in good conscience, have a high caliber head coach? Because they're not going to just go out there and just hire somebody just to hire, that would come into a program without knowing what is the finality of this NCAA investigation. We know the NCAA, for good or for bad, can be very predictable when it does levy down the sanctions. And maybe there's going to be some self-imposed sanctions by ASU to begin with, but why would any head coach who does have good possibilities out there actually come to a program with so much uncertainty? So I think that's something that, as much as fans wanted Herm Edwards out because of the NCAA investigation, it's actually that off the field matter that really, I think, handcuffed Ray Anderson and University President Michael Crow from making a change at head coach. But aside from that, just look around the Pac-12. I mean, you could have up to 6 vacancies. I know just before you and I came on this Zoom, USC is hiring Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma. Okay, but that's only one vacancy that's filled. You still got both Washington schools. Don't be surprised if you see Oregon, Utah, and Cal looking for a head coach. Not because they're really outing the head coach that's currently right now, but for various reasons, those head coaches, Wilcox, Winningham, and Cristobal, might just seek greener pastures. In the case of Winningham, may just retire altogether. So now you can have a situation, Lina, where you have literally half of the Pac-12 looking for a head coach. Why does ASU want to be just one more school now looking for a head coach when you know there's going to be some overlap when it comes to the list of candidates. So I really think those are the two aspects that more than anything compelled Ray Anderson and Michael Crow not to make a change. Look, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know you can't really judge the world of sports or any other aspect of our life by Twitter, but there's no doubt that the fan base in Tempe is very, very divided over this move. I would just submit this. When you do have stability at head coaching, sometimes that can help your recruiting. And I'm not only talking about just recruiting high school prospects and or junior college prospects, but also really getting some quality players from the portal. The last thing, especially a player from the transfer portal wants to see, is instability. When they know Herm Edwards is going to be here in 2022, that can maybe help their decision. So I think that that's also maybe another element that really came into play over here. But I agree with you, Lina. It definitely has been a somewhat controversial decision and not near a consensus by the ASU fan base that this was the right move.
Absolutely. So I'll ask you, what's next for this program, for this team? What are we looking at for the future with the Sun Devils?
Well, I'll say, first of all, the near future, even before we talk about the bowl game, is just a signing period that's going to start on December 15th. I do expect this to be a smaller class when it comes to high school and junior college prospects. But what is ASU going to do when it comes to the transfer portal? It really has to hit a bullseye, I feel, at offensive tackle, at safety, to name a couple positions. So they really have to make sure that, even though they had, I think, pretty good success in Herm Edwards' era when it came to the transfer portal, they really have to do even better, I think, in those positions in specific. Then you talk about the ball game, and it's going to be a really interesting contest where a lot of players, such as I would say Rashad White, Tyler Johnson, D.D. Davidson, are going to skip the bowl. Yes, they do have eligibility still left, but in not so many words, they declared already that they are going for the NFL draft. So it's going to be a postseason game where you're going to see a lot of seldom used players, I think, play and maybe see the future on display for ASU. So I'm really interested to see how that comes to play. A lot of coaches will tell you that just having those 15 practices for a bowl game are really worth their weight in gold, just because you can give those players that are now going to have the light shining a little brighter on them an opportunity to prepare in earnest for that postseason game. So I'm really curious to see what the makeup of the roster is going to be come that postseason game and how those players play. But honestly, and I don't mean to harp on it again, but the NCAA investigation is not going to be a resolution by the end of this calendar year. Maybe late spring we'll hear something, might even spill over to the summer. I think, Lina, when it's all said and done, that's really going to dictate a lot for this team. What kind of sanctions are going to look at? What's going to be the future of maybe some coaches in play? That's going to be just a big question really looming over this ASU program. So in some ways, the future is somewhat unclear, but I wouldn't say it's really all gloom and doom. I think there's a lot of good young players that did prove, even in limited opportunities, that they can carry this team forward. So I'm excited again in the post game and in the postseason. I'm sorry, to see those younger players really play well and to see what they can do and maybe give us somewhat of a picture of the future for the Sun Devils.
Absolutely. You made some wonderful points about what this season has looked like for the Sun Devils, but Hode, I'd like your takeaways from this season, coming in with maybe not very high expectations to becoming the dark horse in the Pac-12 to what we know now is kind of a disappointing season after having Rose Bowl aspirations.
Yeah, I think when it comes back again to the passing game, I really thought that if that wasn't an element of this offense that really was going to show improvement from 2020, that this team was going to be in trouble. I never doubted the defense. I mean, you look at the overall body of work of this side of the ball. In 6 of their games, they held the opponent for under 16 points or less. So I think that the defense really did their job. But when it comes to the offense, again, you can talk about Rashad White being one of the best running backs we've ever seen in Tempe. But I felt that just too much emphasis on the running game just because you kind of lost confidence, and maybe rightfully so in some cases in the passing game. And also, I think sometimes Rashad White was really carrying way too heavy of a load. If you remember, there were back-to-back games at Washington, at Oregon State, where he had 32 carries and 28. That's just way too much of a workload for even a running back as talented as Rashad White. So I think that also caused issues for the running game as a whole. So all in all, not that I didn't expect the defense not to have to carry this offense more often than not. But I just feel that the imbalance that we saw on offense really hurt them and hurt them bad. And this is a defense that I felt that sometimes was only playing as well as the offense was playing. And look, it's really depressing to have a defense standing on the sideline, seeing an offense going 3 and out, turnover here, penalty there. I think it really does affect the psyche of the defense. And at some point, it was really hard to expect this defense really to play just out of their mind each and every Saturday to have ASU escape with the skin of their teeth with wins. Maybe it happened once or twice, but it's something that could happen consistently. So it definitely was, I think, a disappointing season. Look, I mean, as long as I've been covering this team, I know that when you have a regular season of 8 wins, don't take it for granted. That is not commonplace in Tempe, maybe in Ann Arbor, maybe in Columbus, but not over here. But at the same time, when you just look at the talent level of this team, Lina, I mean, I didn't cover the team in 1996. I was just 2 years out of ASU, but I would say that the talent level of this 2021 team may only rival that of 1996. Really, on both sides of the ball, you just had a lot of skilled, talented players, proven players that had postseason and preseason Pac-12 honors all over the place. And for a team like this, with this caliber of talent, only to win 8 games in the regular season, that has to be a disappointment. And I doubt that anybody on the ASU staff, even with the off-the-field issues and whatnot, would tell you that this was a successful, even mildly successful year.
Well, you got to have some hope for the future, of course. That's Hod Rubino of Devil's Digest joining us here as our Sun Devil Insider on 12 Sports tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lina.